screaming. I became aware of Scar screaming, holding me from the front, and as my eyes opened, dozens of shadows seemed to burst from her. She jumped back for a minute, and seemed just as surprised as I was that I was awake and alive. She came forward and grabbed me, and as I looked around the room, the machine that had hung over my head hung sparking to the side. Scar must have ripped it off. The doctor, I think, the doctor that had operated on me lay in the doorway, dark blue blood pooling around him. Scar must have gotten to him as well. Scar pulled me up as she said, "We need to go. There are alarms going off. They know that I'm free, and they know that I'm here to free you." She pulled me off the bed, and I dropped down to my knees. I guess I didn't have all my strength left, though I felt a lot better than I had before. As Scar led me to the doorway, I croaked at her to stop. My mouth was burning, and she let me go for long enough that I went to the pedestal where they had sucked down all of my clothes. I pounded at the other pedals there until one of them opened, and it popped up the top of the receptacle. And I reached inside, feeling in among the strips of cloth and of my clothes until I found the scabbard and pulled it free, the little strip of belt that was left on it. Scar then helped me up as we ran forward through the hallways, over the body of the doctor, and down through this building, trying to find our way out. As we ran down the hallway, we could hear soldiers from behind us coming out, and they began to shoot as soon as they came around the corner. With whatever these shadows were that I was seeing, I could see the shots before they happened, and so dodging wasn't a problem at all. We came around the corner and ran around another just to see another squad of Profithians coming around that direction. We ran back and into a little alcove between the two, as Scar set me down and looked out the window, judging how high a drop it was from here. As I sat there, I felt as plain as feather life hot against my fingers. I could feel that my traveling was gone. That part of me had been ripped out, and there was a hole there where it had been. The anger and everything built up inside me. And I stood up. I closed my eyes, and the force seemed to, or whatever it was, seemed to completely overtake me. I unclasped Talonthorn and flicked the handle to the side, sending the scabbard away and revealing the sword. And I stepped out into the hallway as the two forces of Profithians completely blocked us off. I engaged them, rushing toward the one, dodging bullets from both sides as I engaged and used Talonthorn to cut through them. As I dodged weapons, I grabbed the gun from one of the fallen Profithians, clicking the manipulating the safety to increase the power and breaking a regulator with the force inside the gun that was used to control the release time. What resulted was an ultra-powered laser gun that I released on both sides of me, dancing between shots. As I went, I threw Talonthorn and used the force to send him into the opposite forces, and dodged both sides, sizzling laser shots erupting on every side of me. I finished off the Profithians on one side, eyes closed the whole time, and turned on the second side and raised the gun that I'd taken and blasted the gun of one of the other Profithians, breaking the crystal inside where it got its power. erupting the whole thing and exploding the gun. It killed the rest of the Profithians, and I used the Force to block. No. I used Talonthorn. I hummed into Talonthorn and it absorbed the power of the blast that would have reached me. I stood as the dust cleared and the last Profithians fell. Iskar stood, holding herself against the wall of the alcove, eyes wide, face terrified. I still didn't open my eyes as I reached forward and grabbed her hand and rushed through the rest of the Profithians. I used the Force to pull the scabbard back toward me and position Talonthorn so it slipped back on, and I clipped it closed as we ran through the hallways. I turned us abruptly through a doorway and downstairs into passageways. I was not controlling myself by this point. I was being controlled by what I don't know, but I led us down through hallways and out a back door to the landing pads of the flying saucers. As we came to the one, I slapped my hand along the side, opening up the hatch, and I threw Scar inside. She, at this point, was terrified and didn't know what was going on, didn't want to follow me, and so I forced her inside, climbed in myself, slammed it closed, and put my hands on the controls. I set the coordinates on the flying saucer, and it shot off into the sky, taking us far away from the city, far away from anything else. As it flew, I punched in more commands, and it jettisoned us out of the bottom through an emergency escape pod, and the flying saucer continued and slammed straight into the mountain range, exploding as it got there. Our pod landed on the ground safely and popped open, and Scar threw herself out, trembling, crying, and I pulled myself out as well and crumpled to the ground. Whatever had taken control of me was gone, and I was weak and scared. I met Scar's eyes, and we both wondered what was going to happen next. End of G Part 1.